Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Wrestling Classic here, and I'm coming to you from parts unknown. Today is a special day. We're not just having an interview today with just someone from Instagram, not just another popular page off the IGWC. We are interviewing someone popular on social media, however. He's been on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You've probably seen him all over the place. He's getting his name out there. Most specifically, you might have seen him on Friday Night SmackDown. Wait a minute, it's Thursday Night SmackDown now. Or you might have seen him on WWE's YouTube page under the Tough Enough banner. I've posted his audition. He's gotten a great response. He's my friend Max Friedman. He's an aspiring wrestler in training, and I feel like he's got a bright future on him. And who better to introduce him than myself, his advocate, the Wrestling Classic. But if you really want to know who he is, he's got to introduce himself. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my friend Max Friedman. Take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, just in case you're deaf, dumb, poor, blind, stupid, or in order to eat your Fruit Loops, you need to rock a football helmet, my name is Maxwell Jacob Feinstein, and I'm better than you, and you know it.
Does that ring a bell? Uh-huh. You know who he is now if you didn't know who I was talking about before, and we're going to get this started. We have been dealing with some technical difficulties, but I think we're okay now.
Yeah, I think we got it down now.
Hope that everyone can hear both of us. That's all that really matters. Because if they missed that great intro, Jesus, it took us like 7 times to try to get it.
It was solid, though.
It was solid. I didn't get as much. It was different every single time, but it was solid. Hopefully, wasn't talking too fast. I do tend to talk fast. I guess we should just jump right into it. Maxwell J. What's again?
Maxwell Jacob Feinstein.
Maxwell Jacob Feinstein. I always say your real last name and your wrestling last name, and I mix the two up.
Yeah.
That happens a lot because they both look the same, but they're totally different when you say them. It's Friedman and Friedman and Feinstein. Friedman and Feinstein. Okay. So let's get started with it. So, professional wrestling. You want to be a professional wrestler. What made you want to become a professional wrestler?
That's a deep root question. For me, the moment I saw it, it was an instant, aha moment for me. I was just like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, man. And I remember the first match I ever saw, which I know this is insane, was Foley versus Taker in a Hell in a Cell. Yeah. So I thought it was real.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think, and I always talk about that. I'm like how when we're children and our imaginations are more like intact, that wrestling has the biggest effect on us because we believe everything we see at that age. And man, I thought that was real. We're probably near the same age, and I remember watching that thing like, holy crap.
Yeah, man.
So
freaked me out.
Yeah, and like I remember talking to you. I feel like I've talked to you before you started training, like officially.
Yes.
Because I remember talking to you when you said you were gonna start training and you were deciding to become a professional wrestler. So that's why I was joking around to say I'm your advocate, because I've actually known you before you started training, which is cool. And now you've just blown up. Everybody. I posted you on Instagram a few times before, and there's usually like pictures, and maybe you doing a spot or something, and people have always liked it. It might have attracted you some viewers and stuff, but when you cut that promo for the Tough Enough audition, and I posted that, wow, the response you got was amazing.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So how did that make you feel when you saw a lot of people responding?
Man, for me, I love promos. I love characters in wrestling, and that's always what drew me to wrestling, even more so than the wrestling itself. To me, the character-driven guys always attracted me. Guys like Roddy Piper, Jake the Snake, who could really cut a promo, And for me to have people tell me that that's something I'm good at really hits home, and it's really cool, man. It's cool to see all the support. It's also funny to see all the crazy chicks DMing me on Instagram afterwards. That was fun.
You got fangirls, eh?
Yeah, wrestling fangirls are a little crazy, man.
Maxwell Jacob Feinstein has finally got his first set of... I know you probably have some local fangirls because of your local shows at Creative Pro Wrestling, but...
Yeah, I do all right back at home, man.
Yeah, but now you got worldwide fangirls. And you won SmackDown, so that just is like, wow. In that short little spot for the Tough Enough auditions that they were showing. Personally, out of all the Tough Enough commercials or like little snippets after they've been showing of the auditions... The one you were in overall has to be my favorite, just because the way they showed how like Triple H was reacting to you being like, "Oh, can I call you Trips?" And he's like, pfft. And like he just said whatever he said, like not in this lifetime or something like that. But like,
yeah, it was funny, man.
That's the only promo they've had that they could set up like that.
Yep.
Well, the rest of them have all just been they're showing auditions, which are cool, all that, but like they actually were able to make Triple H react to your statements, which was cool. You haven't seen that yet with any of the rest of them.
Yeah, I agree. I remember when they came out with it, I was just jaw-dropped because they used me at the beginning, the middle, the end, and it totally freaked me out, for them to have shown me that many times. It was really cool.
Yeah, and you were placed in specific spots because your promo was so good that it was marketable.
Yeah, it was awesome, man.
And like I remember when I first watched one of your promos, was back when you first was asking if, I could put you on the page with one of your promos, showing you guys and stuff. And I put it up, and I'm like, one of the things I noticed first is that I remember saying this to you, I'm like, you've already like got your gimmick down, and that's so cool. Because a lot of people will learn the wrestling first, not the gimmick, or some people will learn the gimmick but they can't really wrestle. And I've seen you do both now, and I'm like, it's perfect.
Thanks, man. Yeah. I mean, for me, coming up with the character of Maxwell Jacob Feinstein was almost easy because it's almost an extension of myself. It's like taking my own personality and just multiplying it by 1,000,
And I feel like that's what a wrestler should be.
Yeah, man. I feel like that's where all the greats come from,
Like Austin was an extension of himself. The Rock was an extension of himself.
100%.
Hogan and Savage were just, exaggerated versions of their normal self. Like, we've always heard how intense Savage was, and he was intense, just exaggerated on screen.
In my opinion, no one off the cuff was better than Macho Man on a promo. He could do anything on a promo, and it was always so interesting to watch him. Really was.
Oh yeah, the one thing I always appreciate about Savage, and a lot of other guys have been able to accomplish this now too. Like Piper was really good at it too, but like the thing is that he could be serious. He could be serious and make sense and have a legit promo and it made sense. But he could like totally not make sense and just be rambling about anything, and it was okay at the same time. So like people
I could watch Piper promos all day too.
Oh, Piper's
my biggest influence.
I feel like Piper promos are like, if you want to learn how to cut a promo, like those are the you want to watch those guys before you start watching Austin's and the Rocks and stuff, because Rock was more funny than actual legit promos. But if you want to know how to cut a promo, you want to watch Piper, you want to watch Savage, you want to watch Jake the Snake, you want to watch Flair, you want to watch the guys that were cutting promos about stuff, you want to watch Dusty Rhodes, you want to watch Harley Race. And then you move on to watching guys like Austin the Rock, where you start putting in the humor and you get, start expanding your character a bit more,
Start thinking about those one-liners.
Yeah, basically. That's when you start moving forward. I wouldn't say anyone from this generation, personally, because I feel like the promos... it's weird, because the more they started scripting the promos, the less better and less creative they got,
Yeah, I agree. And actually, I was thinking about that yesterday. It's so hard this day and age in the WWE to shoot a good promo because of the simple sense that they write it out for you and you either read it or you don't read it. You know what I mean?
Or you read it, but you try to put it in your own voice, but only the ones that are really comfortable with their own character can do that.
And that's why I found, I don't know if you listened to the Vince McMahon Stone Cold podcast, I found it interesting that Vince McMahon said he feels no one's really reaching for that brass ring. And to defend the guys on the roster now, it's hard to reach for that brass ring when you're confined with what they give you. You know what I mean? Yeah,
because before you had this little bit of space to be creative and be yourself, and I feel like now it's like, okay, this is what we're giving you, and this is what you're going to do. And I feel, I don't know, because I don't work there, but from all the books I've read and all the shoots I've listened to and all the interviews, because I'm a mark, I'm a hardcore mark, I do my research. And like, from everything I've heard and listened to, from my perspective, there wasn't so many channels to the final product as it is today. Like now it's like Vince, and then this guy, then an agent, and then the writer, then creative. Like there's so many people you have to go through. It's like if you don't listen, you're not listening to not just one person. You can't even talk about what you want to change with one person. It has to go through so many different people, and then you have so many different people giving you their advice and stuff. That's like you do what you're set to do, because if you don't, you're pissing off a whole bunch of people. And if you fuck up, if you take a risk and you fuck up, that's on you and
100%.
And whatever agent you're working with, yeah.
If you look back in the annals of histories of WWE promos, the best promos were the ones where they let them have free reign. You think about the CM Punk promo, the Stone Cold Steve Austin promo at King of the Ring,
Yeah.
Those promos were off the cuff, and that's, to me, is when a guy can be his best, is when he's allowed to have free reign on his promo.
No, I agree, and I feel like that's what's lost these days, is that freedom to just say whatever you kind of want. It's not say what you kind of want, like you get the guidelines of what you have to get across, because every promo you're trying to sell something, whether it's a match, a pay-per-view, a segment later on in the show. Like every promo you're trying to sell something for the next part of whatever you're trying to sell, right? Yep. So you have to get that across. If you don't get that across, you're already in trouble. But then you got to do it while being yourself. Like right now we're seeing new car promos as Maxwell J. Feinstein as yourself, an extended version of yourself. And there's always that fear that like maybe like if you get scripted that you're going to have to tone it down and be different, which isn't like what I feel like it was before. Like you got to, when they took guys like Piper and Savage and Jake the Snake off the territories, they were doing what they were doing on WWE in the territories. Like Savage was talking like that. Piper was that loud and crazy in NWA and Georgia South, wherever, Mid-South Wrestling and stuff like that. They came there and they did adapt to the WWE style, but they were still their own characters. Now you take someone like Tyler Black, who's now Seth Rollins. Or actually, this was the perfect example because I was talking about it on the last podcast today with Josiah and Jordan. Danny O'Brien. When Danny O'Brien was in the independent scene, he was still a nice, good guy and everything, don't get me wrong. Yep. But he was more aggressive. His promos were more badass. He sounded like he was straight shooting a lot of the times. Where now when he cuts a promo as a face in the WWE, he's like bubblegum shit. That's where that came from. Yeah. It's a bubblegum shit promo. It's very scripted and very happy-dappy and yes, yes, yes. Well, like a guy like The Rock, he was still badass when he was a face as if he was a heel. The guy like The Undertaker was still a badass when he was a face, whether he was a heel. You stuck to your character. You didn't change just because you're a good guy now and you want to push T-shirts.
True. For me, if I ever do make it in this business, I want to always stay true to myself and who I believe I am. And I feel like that's the only way to get your character across and make it believable. And I do feel really bad for guys in the WWE now who are given these scripts and they just look at them and they go, "Oh, this so isn't me." But I have to go out there now and I have to perform. I have to give it my all. It's tough. It's definitely really tough. And
it's true because like every name that we've talked about is either from like the Ruthless Aggression, the Attitude, the Rock and Wrestling eras. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you like, oh, like I don't even see myself 5 to 10 years down the road being like John Cena had the greatest promo ever. I think John Cena's promos are the same every week.
Yeah. And it's tough for John because I'm sure John's in the back thinking to himself, man, I just want to be edgy tonight.
And I know he can too. I know the stuff he could probably say and he wants to say, but he tries, like he does break out of his promos a little bit and gives us something different, but he has to stick to what he does because in creative's mind, and I guess Vince's mind, the overall king of it all, that's what John is doing is what works because they're making money and the kids, they're doing great for the kids and stuff, but at the same time it's like, you want him to be a little bit different. Like I said, I've said this a million times. I do not hate John Cena. I do not dislike John Cena. I do not think John Cena sucks. I'm just bored of John Cena. I feel like everything he says and does is just the same, and it's stale. It's nothing against him because it's not really his choice.
Because John is an incredibly talented wrestler and an incredibly talented personality. What the problem is the writing team and honestly, I don't want to be talking smack. I have no right.
None of us do, but this is what we do because we're talking.
Yes.
We don't. I always say the only thing we know about professional wrestling, all of us, is that we fucking know nothing. But that's the beauty of it because it gives us stuff to talk about and gives us another reason to love wrestling even more because we can assume and think things and talk about it. It's only bad when you start assuming and thinking things that are negative, like this person did steroids or he's coked out. Like, don't bash people. But we can talk about wrestling. We can have our assumptions and thoughts.
I know you're a Macho Man fan. One thing that always upset me growing up is when people would be like, "Oh, there's no way he shot that promo without shooting up like cocaine." You know what I mean?
I can't put, and I was complaining about this before. I'm like, I can't put up a fucking promo of Macho Man, Roddy Piper, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate. I can't put up any 80s promo without someone commenting, "Cocaine is a hell of a drug."
Yeah,
okay.
Shut up.
Like, they could have been on cocaine. They could have not been on cocaine. Who the fuck cares? It's still a great fucking promo. That's what we should be talking about. Like how funny or how great or like how creative or like how stupid this promo is. We shouldn't be talking about if they were on cocaine.
What I would say to that guy who cracked that joke is, let's see you shoot that promo on cocaine. Let's see you shoot it that good.
Exactly. And you know what the best part is a lot of these people that are like, oh, he must be on cocaine. I guarantee they've never even done blow. Like they're just assuming what they think it is because they've heard other people say it and they thought it was funny. So annoying. I just ignore them though, but it's like inevitable. I can't do it without someone saying that.
True.
It's just you can't. But back to what we're talking about though. was it John or promos, I guess. Well, let's go back to what we should be talking about. Coming up with your gimmick. So it's an extension of yourself.
Yes.
Obviously, like you training at Creative Pro Wrestling, which is run by Brian Myers, better known as Kurt Hawkins, plus others running it, own it, and all that stuff. How is it working with Kurt Hawkins? Has he given you any like important advice or anything when you started coming up with your gimmick? Like, did he give you any feedback?
The one thing I could say about Kurt is he's got to be one of the smartest minds in the wrestling business like ever, and he makes me feel so comfortable when I'm in the ring, when I'm out of the ring, and his wrestling school is no joke, man. Like, I feel bad for people that go to wrestling schools and the top guy is never there. You're just spitting out money at this guy and he's not teaching you anything. But that's not Creative Pro. Creative Pro's epic. You get what you pay for. This man's there every single night teaching you, helping you. Brian Myers is also by far he's one of the top guys in the indies now. So you're working with a guy who's not a past dude. You're working with a guy who is presently today working in the independents, and it's just so cool to pick his brain, man.
And he's still young in the business, you know?
Yeah, man. He's still young, for sure.
I don't think he got his due in the WWE, but, like, he's still young. He's still doing his thing, and he's good. I never thought he wasn't good. I personally, and I might get some flack for that, I always liked him better than Zack Ryder when they were the Major Brothers and Edgeheads. And I like Zack Ryder too, don't get me wrong, but Hawkins always stood out more to me. I even thought his last gimmick he had before he left with the cane and everything, like that was something intriguing and different.
So
but
sick. And it just didn't.
Yeah, and it didn't get over because he wasn't put on the air I'm guessing at the right times or in the right places where everybody could kind of see it, but.
I get almost frustrated watching back on what Brian did in the WWE because he's so freaking charismatic. He oozes with it. And it's just, if a wrestler's not given the opportunity and put on the right platform, he can't get over it. It's impossible. You know what I mean?
I agree.
I definitely, that always hurt me to watch that. And yeah, I was a huge edgehead too back in the day. I remember my wrestler that I would create in WWE 2K came out to We're Knocking on the Door, which was Zach's and Kurt's theme music.
That's awesome. So it's cool that you get to work with him at this point, because then, you know...
Oh, it's sick, man. I totally... It's such a sick, cool experience.
Was that the closest school to, like, where you live, or was it something that you chose you want to do, to go to that specific school, or...
See, it's really funny you ask that, because when I ran away from college and my football scholarship...
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. So you had a football scholarship, because... If we did watch your promo, you talked about all these things you had, all your accomplishments and your athletic background. So what was going on before you decided to go to the school? We'll get to the school because you're going to get to that point at some point. So what was going on? So you were in college, you had a football scholarship. Go on.
So this is what happened. I was a very good football player. A little too good for my own good. I got pretty cocky with it. I got a lot of D1 offers. They would meet me. They felt I was too short. But finally there was one school that didn't care about my height, and they took me in and they offered me a scholarship. Obviously I said yes, because what is a kid my age supposed to do at this point? He's supposed to go to college. But in the back of my head, I always thought to myself, God, I know what I want to do. Am I making a mistake? So I drove up to the college I went to. It was Hartwick. And we were in football camp. And after week 2, the head coach comes up to me and he goes, kid, we're thinking about starting you. So I'm a freshman.
Yeah.
In the back of my head, I should be going, holy crap, you're going to start me as a freshman? But what I really thought in the back of my head was, dude, this isn't what I want. I know what I want to be. I want to be a pro freaking wrestler. I don't want to be a football player anymore. And I remember distinctively one night at training camp, I was sitting on my bed after practice. I was scrolling through Instagram, and I came across your page, and I was looking at all the stuff, and it pushed me to the edge. I was like, I know what I want to do. I want to do this. So I literally ran to my truck that was on campus, and I drove. And I got at my house at 4 a.m. to my parents freaking out, asking me why am I here? Why did I run? And my only answer was wrestling. So that's what went down, man. It's a pretty kooky story, but that's why I'm here now, and that's why I'm doing this.
I love that I kind of had a part of that. It makes me feel kind of special. But I'm not gonna lie, I feel where you're coming from, because even myself running this page, like, that's why sometimes you'll see me post things where I'm all like getting all like angry and depressed, because like I'm posting all this wrestling stuff, and I'm like, I'm in school right now, and I'm working at the bank, and I'm doing all this stuff, but in my mind, I'm like, fuck, like, I'm posting all this stuff, and I want to be doing this stuff. I don't want to just be posting about it. Like, I want to be there. I want to, I want to work in creative. I have all these ideas and all these opinions and all these things, and I have so many people that actually listen to me and enjoy them, and I'm motivating other people, yet I'm, like, sitting here myself thinking, like, why aren't I just going and, like, trying to fucking knock on the headquarters door, or trying to call them and get a hold of somebody? Like, I've even talked to people that work for the business, and I'm like, why not jump in this being like, yo, get me a fucking interview or something, instead of trying to be like, oh, in time, maybe they'll offer it. Like,
Uh-huh. The only advice I can give is you just got to keep doing you. I mean, you're getting followers by the thousands every single week. It's, like, insane how fast you're growing. And by the time you come out with these awesome T-shirts I hope you come out with, and maybe you can make a website, And
that's in the process. It's just taking time.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what it is, man. That's life. Dedication. Yeah. Towards anything takes time and effort.
Fair enough. That's a lesson for everybody listening to this. That's not just for me, it's for everybody, because that's the truth. And that's the thing, is that it's focused too, because a lot of people will start doing something and they don't see results right away. It's like going to the gym. People start going to the gym, if they don't see results in the first, like, 2 weeks because they expect they're supposed to, which you don't. You don't. You have to stay focused and keep going and dedicated, and slowly but surely you'll start seeing things. And that's what it takes to see that, though, because a lot of people give up. They're like, this isn't working. Oh, you know what, man? I'm going to be broke. Yeah. Like, you have to hit rock bottom before you can get to the top, I feel like. Because when you left college and you ran away, you left a scholarship behind. You probably had nothing going for you at that moment.
Zero. But I knew what I wanted to do.
You hit rock bottom, and now look where you are. You're auditioning for Tough Enough. You're over as fuck with people. You are over as fuck with the WWE. Producers are Tough Enough casting people or whatever it is, because they put you on SmackDown and they put you on the WWE Tough Enough thing, and you have the most views on the WWE Tough Enough video selection. And, like, God knows where you're gonna go from here, and I can only see you going up, because if you go any other way, like, no way, there's not a chance. I don't think so, personally. Yeah. So yeah, no, like, that's what it takes. So you ran away and you went home, you left this football scholarship behind, and you were going to pursue professional wrestling. I've always said that professional wrestling, for a lot of people, the reason they don't pursue it is because the way professional wrestling is perceived in society as something that's like it's not like as
it's not the norm at all.
It's not football, it's not hockey, it's not like something that's like, and not trying to say those things are easy to achieve, but like professional wrestling is like, how are you gonna make money? Okay, there's one big company, like, how are you gonna get there? And it's not like it's based on how good you are, it's based on like how much you get over and how much you sell. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, if you're really good, you're gonna make it to the top. Yeah, that is a part of it. You have to be really good, but you also have to be charismatic and so on. And the thing is, when you're going to go pursue football or you're going to go pursue hockey, and that, you will always have people that support you. Now, when you said you want to become a professional wrestler, did you get any negative backlash, any of that? You want to become a professional wrestler? What?
Dude, of course I did. And the funniest part is, those people that made fun of me and told me I should stay in college are now kissing my butt and asking me to talk to them, and they're DMing me and they're messaging me and they're pretending like they were behind my back the whole time. And it's just funny, man. People are very fickle.
I've noticed that.
The one thing I can say is I get why people go to college, but for me, it didn't make any sense, because it's not... How am I going to learn to be a pro wrestler by being in a math and science class? You know what I mean? It's just, I had a dream, I wanted to attain it, so I went for it. And obviously I had people come up to me and be like, what are you thinking? You can't do anything in this world without a college degree. And it's just... I understand why it's like that for my generation, our generation.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
People are afraid. The economy isn't exactly phenomenal, and there are scarce jobs. But I knew what I want, and I'm going to attain it, by any means necessary. And if you don't look at your dreams that way, then you're never gonna win. You're just gonna fail. It
comes between the two things that I think that really blur the lines of life in general. And this is gonna get very deep here.
Go ahead, man. Let's hear it.
It's like, okay. This is where I feel like people always get confused in our generation, because I'm 23. How old are you?
Me, I'm 19.
Okay, so you're younger than me. So we are part of the same generation. We were in high school at the same time, even though I graduated probably a few years older than you. But The thing is this, okay, this is where I feel like people get confused. And I've done the college thing. I'm doing it right now. I'm just about finished. And I've taken courses at the beginning. Like, I wanted to take journalism at first, for example. Broadcast journalism. I'm like, that's a route for... In the back of my head, it's always been a goal of mine to work for the WWE. Even when I wasn't planning to work for the WWE, I'm like, broadcast journalism? There's a route there I could take that could get me there. Like, Oh, marketing. That could still somehow land me a job there. It's always been in the back of my head. Even if it wasn't always my first plan. But technically, it was always my first plan. But, so I took broadcast journalism. And obviously, like, the first couple of courses were, like, journalism classes and stuff. And to go against one of your first facts, people thinking that you need a degree in whatever you're going to pursue in life to make it. One, in that first journalism class, I learned something very, very quickly. And I learned this on my own just by what was going on. You technically don't need a fucking journalism degree anymore to be a fucking journalist. Because the way the internet is and the way people vlog and the way there's fucking Twitter, everybody and anybody's a fucking journalist these days. Yep. Nobody's reading the newspaper. If your goal was to be a broadcast journalism, to be on the news or like sports news or something, okay, then maybe you need the degree. But if you're really good and you can get yourself over, like if I can get myself over enough and continue my momentum on right now, I guarantee at some point I could somewhat get an opportunity where someone's like, well, a lot of people know who you are. Do you want to be on the show? Like,
Exactly. And that's the way you got to look at it. You just got to keep rolling. You got to keep going at it. You got to keep pounding at the pavement. And then eventually you're going to hit gold.
Exactly. And it's not about, like, you can have a degree, but if you put your heart and dedication into something, you might get other opportunities without having that degree. I'm not saying having a degree is a bad thing. It's good because you'll always have that backup plan. You always have that thing backing you up that a lot of people won't have because you have that degree. But it's not the only thing that's going to save you. You can get through life without it. I'm saying.
Not. And I've always cracked a joke ever since I was a little kid, and I'm sure this might offend people, but I really don't care.
Yeah.
I feel at the end of the day, most kids just end up with a piece of paper and a bad drug habit after 4 years of college.
And that's facts, true. Man. And it's facts, like a lot of people get that piece of paper and they don't get a job in the field they're even looking for or worked for 4 years.
Exactly.
And that happens to a lot of people. Or I even have a few friends of myself that have finished a degree in like finance or whatever it is, and they both went different ways. One's like doing foreclosure homes in the States and that type of stuff all of a sudden, not even doing his finance stuff. And the other person's went back to school to go do, I think it was like electrical or plumbing, like a trade, to open his own company. But like at the same time, like what they spent 4 years to get a degree in something they're not even using no more. It might benefit them because they have that degree plus something else, but they're not, And then the second part I was going to say was there's a fine line between, and this was the part that I thought was really deep, because this is the part people are like, they're going to get them thinking. There's a fine line of, okay, I want to, because you only live once, let's be honest. You have one life that you're going to remember at least. I don't know if people believe in afterlife, so whatever. If you do, it's good for you. But there's only one life you're going to remember, and it goes like this. Do you want to do something that you enjoy doing every step of the way? Or do you want to do something just so you make money and you can live a comfortable life? Because you can do something you enjoy every step of the way, and there's a risk of you're going to make money or not make money, but you fucking enjoyed it. And sometimes the journey, the beauty's in the journey of getting there and doing it. Or you can go to school, get a degree, and get a job just so you know you have money and you can live comfortably in the future. Yeah, and just be comfortable that you have money.
Just be a sheep.
Exactly, being comfortable with what you got. Like, I got a good job, I went to school for this, but at the same time, still not doing something that you were passionate about.
Yep.
But just to make yourself comfortable in life. Like, I'd rather do something I'm passionate about. I'd rather do something where I'm like, hell, I could probably be making no money whatsoever, but fuck, I'm having fun, I'm enjoying life. I can't say I'm miserable. You know?
Very true, man.
And that's where I think the fine line is. There's a crossroads, and it's usually around your age. You're 19. And like I'm from like 19, I say to like 26, you're at that crossroads where you're gonna have to make the decision. Am I gonna do something that because some people can go to school and do something they're passionate about in school, they can, and get a degree and do it. I'm not saying that, but a lot of people I feel like go to school and do something that they know it's gonna get them a good job. Like, I'm gonna become a lawyer, or I'm gonna become this because they know it's good money, but they're not really passionate about it. And they get there and they're doing it. Or would you want to do something? But realistically, they love like makeup, they love like art, or they love music, but they never pursued that because they didn't think it was practical enough.
Mm-hmm.
There's a fine line, I say. It's a fine line. It's the ones who chase the dreams and the ones that chase the money. It's which one you want to go for.
Exactly.
So you're chasing a dream. So you won Rosie O'Donnell. How did that happen?
Oh, man. stupid thing. I was a 5-year-old kid. I could sing opera. Not well. I was just a super cute little
Okay, so that was funny because when you said you wanted to be an opera singer, I was so confused. I'm like, where did that come from?
See, I didn't want to really be an opera singer. I did, though, however, want to be on the Rosie O'Donnell show. So
Fair enough.
My mom recorded me singing opera, and they sent it in, and Rosie loved it, and then she saw a video of me singing it, or a picture of me, and then she wanted me on the show, and that's how that happened, man. I was like a 5 or 6 year old kid in front of thousands of people. It was pretty
That's
nutty.
cool, because when you posted that, I didn't know that, obviously, but when you posted that, I'm like, that's fucking, you were just on Rosie O'Donnell, and you said on Rosie O'Donnell that you either want to be an opera singer, which kind of threw me off, or you wanted to be a pro, and the fact that you said a pro wrestler, I'm like, dude, you are already marketable for the WWE. Like, they can put that shit on a DVD. They can push it.
Yeah, man.
They can put that shit in a fucking WrestleMania promo. Like, this kid said on Rosie O'Donnell that he wanted to be a pro wrestler. Hell, they could like market the fact that you met Rosie O'Donnell at a show and you're taking a picture with her. They love shit like that. Anything they can make money out of or get a buzz out of. And I know that because I'm a marketing student now. I've worked a marketing internship at a marketing company, and I know anything you get a buzz out of, do it. I do that with my page all the time, the Wrestling Classic. I post things that I know I'm going to get a buzz out of. Half the shit I say is a gimmick, but I know it works. They would love that. Like,
yeah, man. It's super funny because a lot of people close to me don't even know why or how or even knew I was on that show, so it's just funny talking about it now out loud. Yeah.
Well, now everybody knows. Whoever listens to this now knows why you were on the Rosie O'Donnell show. Are you going to sing some opera for us? Are you going to give us like a... Are you gonna give us an example? Can you? Yeah. Or did it change? Or did it change once you went through puberty? Did it kind of go away? Or?
Well, I mean, I'm a pretty good singer, man, and hopefully, I don't know if it will give me an edge with a Tough Enough thing, but I can sing pretty well.
See, and the best thing about that is that you could actually use that to your advantage. Like, picture you're cutting a promo when you start off like just singing something like rude or mean before you talk. Yeah. Not every time. Don't let them make that your gimmick because that's gonna get old fast. But you know.
I don't want like I love Fandango to death, but eventually the whole dancing thing is gonna
That's the only thing I think that's holding him down. I honestly think like I've said it a million times. Pardon?
He's just a phenomenal wrestler, and it's just if they gave him any other gimmick or just let him be Johnny Curtis like when he was on NXT. In my opinion, he's a main eventer. Like, I mean, I'm not even saying that. I think he's amazing.
No, I've said that so many times, and I mean it. Like, I know I say some things jokingly sometimes, but I actually mean it. And I've said it since, like, I had, like, 4K, like, 4,000 followers. Even probably before that. I'm like, all they need to do is drop the dancing so much and make him more aggressive.
Yeah.
You know? And, like, we've seen him a little bit more aggressive recently, but, like, I mean, just drop the dancing and be aggressive. If they're going to have a hard time dropping the whole Fandango thing, like... I don't know, start calling him like Johnny Fandango and then Johnny Fandango Curtis and then just drop it down to Johnny Curtis like slowly. Like the dancing thing's good, but it can't stay over as long.
I thought they were gonna repackage him and just make him just Johnny Curtis again. But then he came back with this really, I wasn't a fan of the gimmick with him and Rosa, and you can tell the crowd wasn't a fan of it either. And they're trying to bring back the original Fandango now, and it's definitely working. He's still getting a sick pop whenever he dances,
Well, that's because the dance was over in England last year, or whatever year it was. So they brought it back in England, which was smart, I think. But it's still over here in the States. But you can tell when they film here in the States and they're trying to show people dancing in the crowd, like they have to like search for people dancing in the crowd. They're like trying to find out like one or like maybe one out of like maybe 100 people out of like 1,000 dancing in the crowd. Like it's evident they're trying to search for that person. So like it's over, but it's not technically over. And I've given like 50 million different scenarios of how they could go across making Fandango more aggressive. Yeah. One of my most favorite ones right now is, and this is like a whole scenario in general, just because obviously there's the Intercontinental title they're trying to make important again, so they can't put it on just random people, and the US title they're trying to make important again, and I kind of liked Cena having it because it keeps Cena away from the world title picture. And I'm like, it would be really cool if like Dean Ambrose brought back the Hardcore Championship, like he just found it and he's like, hey, I'm gonna defend this 24/7, like I'm bringing it back. And like,
because he's so zany and out there, nobody would question it.
Exactly, he just kind of finds it and he's like, whatever, he's just carrying it around and they won't acknowledge it as a real title, but he keeps defending it every week, even though it's not like a real, like considered like even a real title by like the authority. And then finally, it becomes like a real title. And he starts doing the 24/7 thing again, and make like his first feud against like Fandango. And like in that feud, like we get to see Fandango go a little bit hardcore, and that gives Fandango that aggressiveness slowly. He starts trying the dancing, and we get to see Fandango get dirty and messy. And it's like, okay, this guy can wrestle. He's hardcore. I don't want him to be hardcore Fandango, but you know.
You have hardcore Holly and hardcore Fandango. Yeah. They're pretty sweet.
If the hardcore Holly makes a surprise appearance to challenge hardcore Fandango. I don't want him to be a comedy gimmick though. I just want him to kind of drop the dancing. Like he can still dance at the beginning, but slowly, like the more he keeps losing to Dean Ambrose, he gets more serious and angry over this championship that nobody acknowledges. It'd be funny at the same time as it would be like being able to adapt other stars, because then they have a very, very like in-depth roster. I feel like right now.
Oh, the roster's huge, man. It's gigantic.
Like you'll look at it, like on WWE.com or something, and it won't look like it's that big, but they've got a lot of talent. And adding the NXT guys, they've got like a lot of talent, but not enough spots on the roster. You know what I mean? Like not everyone can be in the top spot or the mid-card spot, and like that's hurting a lot of guys at the same time as it's helping a lot of guys.
You have these incredible talents. You got Zayn, you got Owens, you got Devitt. Hell, even I like Riley a lot. I don't know.
I've always liked Alex Riley.
I love him, and it's nuts to see all these guys in NXT. At this point, I feel like it's its own brand. So I think fans should stop getting upset that these guys aren't getting pulled up to the main roster.
I said that too. And like when people rush to the main roster, like, oh, he should be up there by this. I'm like, no, he should be in NXT as long as he can, because the moment he gets to the main roster, he's starting at the bottom again. And then he has to go up against guys. And, like, don't get me wrong, I fucking love Randy Orton. Like I said, I am a fan of John Cena. I think he's boring, but I'm a fan of his. Like, you have to go up against these guys who aren't going anywhere yet. And guys like Orton and Cena have been at the top longer than guys in Austin, The Rock, and Hogan guys were. These guys they're healthier now. They're not doing, they get drug tested. They're not hurting their bodies as much. They're working out a lot more than the older guys were out drinking and partying. Like, these guys' careers have a longer shelf life than the guys of the past, and it's affecting the younger guys coming up, because those guys on the top, they're like cemented there now. You have to like somehow get your way up there, and like only so many have been successful. I'll say Dean Ambrose kind of fell off to the wayside. Roman Reigns is struggling. Seth Rollins got there.
So frustrated with that. I thought he was going to end up feuding with Mick Foley at one point, and I remember when that flopped, I almost flipped a shit, because I'm a huge Dean Ambrose fan, man. And so is my tag partner Joe. Forget about it. He watches John Moxley CZW matches 24/7. That's all the kid does.
Well, that's awesome. That makes sense though, because a lot of people, when I posted his Tough Enough audition on my page, was like, he kind of looks like Kevin Steen, but like he's acting like he's Dean Ambrose. And I'm like, have you ever thought that maybe he was inspired by those people?
Exactly.
Everyone takes it in a negative context. Like, it's like you, like a lot of people like, oh, you're acting like Alberto Del Rio. He could be like the next Miz. Like, no, you're going to be the first Maxwell Jacob Feinstein, but there's going to be similarities.
I remember when I was scrolling down the comments, I kept on reading so many Alberto Del Rio comments, and I get it. I mean, this is a guy that I watched, every single Monday night, and he was good, and he was good at cutting promos. So I'm sorry if that kind of flowed onto me a little bit. The funniest thing I found was Zack Ryder, though, because I don't think I'm like Zack Ryder at all.
Well, you weren't saying woo, it or anything stupid. Like, yours made sense, straight to the point, man. I understand the Miz part, because I'm better than you kind of sounds like I'm awesome.
Yeah, the Miz I understood a lot.
Del Rio I understood because the sunglasses and the ego and the cockiness and, like, like you just know your place, and that's like Del Rio.
Some people said I look like Del Rio if he was battered in milk, which made me crack up like really hard.
Oh my god, that is pretty funny. But it's just the way it is, and it's not even just you. It's not even just the young guys, because like you can put guys that are on the WWE roster right now, and there's always comparisons. Dean Ambrose is Brian Pillman / Roddy Piper. Seth Rollins is Edge. Dolph Ziggler is Shawn Michaels. Okay, similarities I understand, but they are their own characters, and it kind of sucks because you don't always want to be compared to someone, because like Dolph Ziggler's not going to ever be as great as Shawn Michaels the way he's getting booked. So it sucks to be compared to him and be like, but you like him, but you're not him. Like,
all people can do in pro wrestling is compare, because think about it, WWE is literally the never-ending story. It's a show that will never end. So all people from the past will look at this wrestler and go, oh, that's such a copycat. No, man, it's not a copycat. It's just you were such a mark for that one guy. You know what I mean? It then makes you think everyone's copying him. That's not the case, So I understand where people are coming from, 100%. But everybody's their own individual. Have there been guys who 100% carbon copies of others? I don't know. I don't think I've ever personally felt that way. Except for maybe the Ascension is exactly like Legion of Doom. But that's just my 2 cents.
Well, I've always felt like it's okay to compare people. It's not to compare. It's when you do it in a negative way.
Yes, negative connotation.
Because it's easy to compare someone. Like I will even say I've been guilty of saying, like, you know what, Dean Ambrose has reminded me of Brian Pillman right now. That's okay. In a way, that could be a compliment. But it's when you're like, oh, he's trying to be Brian Pillman. He's trying to act like this person. Then it's like, no, he's not trying. He's being himself, but there's similarities that we feel like he's trying to be that person. No, that's all it is. It's the way you say it, right?
If you say it in a positive connotation, like Dolph Ziggler reminds me of Mr. Perfect because he's such a good seller.
Yeah.
But if you say Dolph Ziggler's copying Mr. Perfect by the T and I don't like it, you're a jerk.
Yeah. Like, oh, he's just trying to be Mr. Perfect. I don't like this guy because he's trying to imitate someone that I used to love, but he's not him, so fuck him. No. Like, no, man. It's like I don't know. And how about you feel about this? Because I've always talked about this, and this is kind of why I always envision myself doing it. Is like, do you feel that there is a dying breed of advocate managers and authority figures? There's Vince, and there's the authority, and that's about it. There's no more Vicky Guerrero. There's no actual general managers. There's only Paul Heyman. Zeb Coulter even disappeared. But Paul Heyman's getting old. Eric Bischoff's old. Vince is old. You know, the authority, the shtick's getting kind of old. It's been the same stuff for... Like, I always enjoy when I see them, but I still even question, like, when are they going to end this angle? Because it's been going on for, like, 3 years now. What do you feel like that's missing?
I mean, I'm lucky. I have an advocate. His name's the Wrestling Classic.
Thank
But
you.
yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I miss the golden age of the manager really meaning something. Like we're talking the Grand Wizard, Bobby the Brain Heenan,
Freddie Blassie.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I always found it cool how the second a wrestler would partner up with a specific manager, that made him important.
The manager lifted up a lot of wrestlers, and that's what a lot of these guys don't have no more.
And it was a powerful thing. Like Paul Heyman, when he aligned himself with Curtis Axel was then in the Intercontinental title picture.
And he was relevant for those 2 seconds.
Because he was with Paul Heyman.
Exactly. Know? Is it that they don't trust anyone else to be managers? They don't like the concept of a manager? Because, I personally, if you ask me, a lot of guys in the 80s wouldn't have gotten over if it wasn't for, like, Bobby Heenan. Like, I don't think... like a guy like Big John Studd or fucking Hercules or like even the Brainbusters would have been as popular as they were if they didn't have Heenan. I don't think the Hart Foundation would have been as great as they were if they didn't team up with Jimmy Hart at first. Great wrestlers, yes, but you know they worked off Jimmy Hart's energy. The Macho Man would not have been as great if he wasn't with Elizabeth, and I can even say that I'm the biggest Macho Mark in the world.
Was there and it made it super interesting. It made you go, oh, are they together? Are they not together? Do they still love each other? Like that was part of the package deal of Macho Man Randy Savage.
Exactly, and it gave him that another, like, he was a great wrestler and he has a great promo, but having Elizabeth just gave him that extra layer of like, oh, I wonder what this is all about. Like, why is she just so nice to him and he's so mean and like blah blah blah. Like, so like yeah, I feel like it's missing. And I feel like the authority role of like, man, like when Bischoff was running WCW and Heyman was running ECW and Vince was like, you have these 3 powerful, like actual like authority roles that were like so over the top and so cocky, and that's totally missing these days. Because those 3,
I totally.
They impacted the business, and there's not ever gonna be another Monday Night War or anything like that. But like,
we can only pray.
It brought another aspect to the business. You know what I mean? Because right now that's what's missing. There's not competition. But if you had someone like that, I guaranteed you could build competition within the company. Because you'll have someone else that's in charge who's this major manager going up against the authority. And he has his group against their group. Doesn't necessarily have to be stable against stable, but there's this sort of rivalry between, oh, I'm a this person guy. No, I'm a fucking authority guy. Okay. Like, you know?
There's an old saying, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but they say the person who's at the top is nowhere near as hungry as the person who's at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're a guy like Vince McMahon, who you're a monopoly, you are legitimately the only company that everybody associates with pro wrestling, unless you're an actual pro wrestling fan and you watch TNA, ROH, CZW, PWS, whatever, what have you. You know,
yeah.
It's hard for Vince McMahon to look in the mirror and go, oh, we gotta fuck shit up today. You know?
They don't have to.
They don't have to, exactly. They're already the top company, and no one at this moment is behind them and trying to catch up, you know?
And I've said that a billion times. I'm like, they don't have to do anything, and that's a reason why today when you watch Monday Night Raw, it could be like the most boring show ever, but we accept it as like, it was a good show because this generation doesn't expect anything more. And two, they have nothing to compete against. Well, they have this little lame excuse like, oh, what do you mean we're not doing good because we have no competition? Our competition is television. Every other show on TV is our competition. No, you have no competition. Like,
yeah.
you can literally put anything you want on TV at this point, and people are gonna watch it. And it's not must-watch TV. And I've said that a million times. The only thing that's missing is the fact that it's like, I don't mind if I watch this a day or two late. I don't mind if someone spoils it for me. There's nothing there that I feel like, oh my god, I wish I was there to watch this live. Once in a blue moon that happens. Once in a blue moon The Rock will return or something cool will happen. But otherwise, there's not many times, like when Seth Rollins turned on the Shield, I was happy I was watching that live. But
that was great.
There's a lot of things that haven't been must-watch TV on a weekly basis. Well, I remember a time where you, even if something didn't happen, you wanted to watch just in case something did happen.
Exactly.
That's not there no more. I feel like I can miss something, maybe something will happen, but I'm not like so like, I'm like 50%, no, like 89, 90% sure nothing is going to happen. So like...
And again, as a fan and somebody who wants to do this so bad, that's something I aspire to do. I really want to be able to be the guy that people want to tune in. And you know what I mean?
And that's going to give you an extra edge because you're going to give it a bit more. And see, that's what I feel like. I feel like the next generation coming up right now is what was missing with the generation that came before, with the Barretts and the Zigglers and stuff. And I'm not trying to knock them down or anything because they've been working. There's probably a whole lot more to it in the politics and all that. But
yep.
like the guys on NXT that are working with Triple H, you can tell they're hungry.
Mm-hmm.
The guys in the main roster, you can tell like they're kind of okay with the spot now. They know they're not getting pushed over Cena, and like they'll get their chances, but you know they keep getting fucked over anyways, and they're getting bored with it. But you see Baylor, you see Owens, you see Zayn, you see these guys, and they're like hungry down at NXT. They're busting their asses. They're putting on 5-star matches. Even the women, they're putting on like 5-star matches. Like I love Sasha Banks and Charlotte and Bayley, and like
I love Divas matches, man. I can tell that about you. I find that pretty interesting.
The thing is, okay, I've said this so many times. You asked me before 2012 if I gave a shit about the Divas. I'd say no. I didn't know. And I said to someone, I didn't know who the Divas Championship was. I don't know when they retired the Women's Championship and just had the Divas title. I could tell you who the champions were. I couldn't tell you who they beat or how long they held them. The only reason I give a shit now is ever since I started my page, I've personally seen how big of a fan base of Divas do you have.
Yes.
I was an AJ fan, and the only reason I was an AJ fan, and I've stated this before, is because they put AJ in relevant storylines with like Daniel Bryan and CM Punk. Mm-hmm. Right? So that made you know who AJ was. So when she won the Divas title, like you knew AJ won the Divas title. Like she was just the GM, now she's Divas champion. So AJ got me tuning into the Divas. And then I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not gonna lie. I watched Total Divas, and that got me more intrigued into the Divas. So I started paying attention. Yeah, so I started paying attention again. And the only reason I like the Divas matches now, and I didn't really care about the matches at that point. I like Total Divas and I liked AJ. I watched the matches, some of them were okay and stuff. It wasn't like the biggest part is. And even before Give Divas a Chance, though, I was watching NXT. I've been watching NXT since NXT was, like, ever started with, like, at the beginning when Seth Rollins and, like, Richie Steamboat guys were there. Because here in Canada, we get it on Sportsnet. So, like, it wasn't like I had to go on Hulu or, like, WWE Network or anything. Like, we had it on TV every week. So I watched it. And since day one, the women's wrestling on NXT, it was a little bit sloppier before, and it's better now, but it was always better than what you got in Raw and SmackDown stuff. So I'm like, we know these women can go. And then before Give Divas a Chance, I was already saying, like, these women can wrestle and stuff. And everyone's like, well, the NXT girls are better. The NXT girls are better. No, they're not necessarily better. They're just getting more of an opportunity to showcase what they can do. Because I know Natalya can wrestle. I know Emma and Summer Rae can wrestle because I've seen Summer Rae on NXT before she was called up to the main roster. I know Tamina can wrestle. The Bellas have improved. I'm not going to say they're the best, but they both improved. Nikki's improved a lot. Like, we know these girls can wrestle, but they're getting like such little time that they're rushing shit and they're botching shit because they're rushing it, trying to get all this cool stuff in such a little time. And they catch so much flack. And I'm not a wrestler, so I've never actually like wrestled a match, but I feel like I know enough to know like you need that time to tell a story.
Yes.
You can't tell a story in a minute and a half, including entrances and stuff. And you want to leave everybody with something to remember. You don't want to have a boring match. You don't want to just go out there and move with the movements and not really just going with the flow. Like, you want to be able to tell a quick story even if you have the time. And sometimes they botch shit because they don't get that much time. You can't rush things. It takes two to wrestle. It takes two to tango. It's not a one-person thing. I hate it when someone's like, oh, this person carried the match, or the only reason he had a good match was because he was wrestling this person. I'm not a wrestler, but I understand the psychology enough that if the other person's not cooperating with you and you're not doing this together, it's not going to work.
It's impossible.
Yeah, it's impossible. It's not going to work. You both need to... I don't want to spoil wrestling for anybody, but if you really know wrestling, like, it takes both people. Not one person can make it happen.
It's true, man. And I can tell you from just my experience so far, when you're in the ring with somebody who doesn't want to give you their body, not only does it not come off as good to the crowd, but it's also very dangerous. Mm-hmm. It's extremely dangerous. You're trying to do a move, the guy's going the opposite way that you're going in, and you're going to hurt yourself if you're not willing to give your body to the person you're in the ring with. And that's something that we are taught and really is drilled into our heads at my school. Which
is understandable, because I understand that, like, anyways, like I was saying, but, like, yeah, it takes two people to wrestle, and I feel like, a lot of people, they put a lot of flack on the fact, and this goes back to, wrestling is fake. It's more dangerous than a lot of other sports, actually every other sport besides maybe MMA and maybe football because there's tackling and contact, but like as a contact sport, and actually all sports are dangerous, but wrestling has to be the most dangerous because the shit you do and the way you take bumps, how can you call that fake?
So, from a guy who's been on both sides of the fence, a guy who was a collegiate football player, and a guy who is now doing pro wrestling, I can tell you right now, there is nothing more dangerous than professional wrestling, and it's so many different intangibles you have to deal with. You got to think about, are the ropes tight enough? Are they going to break? How tough is the ring? Some rings are literally like, it's like bumping on concrete. You know what I mean? And then you got to worry about the crowd. Maybe some idiot wants to jump in the ring and test you, you know?
Yeah.
And there's so many different intangibles, whereas in football, you know what the goal is. Everybody's trying to get that guy with the ball. Understand? So in pro wrestling, anything can change at the drop of a hat. You have no idea what's going to happen next, even if you'd like to think you know what's going to happen next. And that's also what I love about wrestling. It's just it's like nothing other. It's an art form with using your body. It's an art form on the microphone. Just everything about it.
It's an art. That's why I always say it's the greatest form of art and athleticism. There's nothing else that combines the two. Because you don't have to be like the biggest athlete in the world, but it's an athletic thing. You have to be able to you can't gas out 2 minutes into a thing. Because I've seen really big guys, I mean like big husky guys, that don't gas out. And I'm like, wow, like he's athletic, but he's fat as fuck. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and like it's like you had to have a good cardiovascular health. You got to be able to like run. You can't be broken in pieces. And it's an art form because you got to tell a story. Everything, and this is what sometimes I kind of feel is missing in the WWE on like the Raw, like pay-per-view matches always 5-star, NXT 5-star, but sometimes on Raw and stuff. And this is because people have accepted it, and it sucks because because in my era it wasn't accepted, and you can tell with the older fans that follow my page, it's not accepted with them too. One of the reasons I'm not like the biggest Jeff Hardy fan. I love Jeff Hardy. I appreciate what he's done for the business and what he's given, like the spots he's taken, the bumps he's taken for our entertainment.
He was my favorite as a kid. Him and Ray.
Yeah, so you like the high fives and stuff. But I just wanted to be. I just think the point I was trying to get across is I hate spots. That like there can be really sick spots. Like I understand the spot's sick. It gave you that moment, but they have like no meaning to it was a meaningless spot.
A spot monkey.
Yeah, I know. It was just like a meaningless spot, and I feel like they do that a lot nowadays. Like how almost in every Daniel O'Brien match he has to dive out through the ropes. Like he has to do the outside suicide dive. He has to. It's like it's a spot that has to happen. Yep. But I feel like it's the way I remember wrestling is like, yeah, that is a spot that happens, but only when it really needs to happen. It doesn't need to happen in every single one of his matches. It loses.
And that's what made it cool. It's because you always wondered, is he gonna do it? Is he gonna do it?
Yeah, like it loses its luster. Like when you watch a Jeff Hardy match, you waited for him to jump off something because that's what happened. But it was better when he didn't, and like it was like, oh wait, he's actually gonna do this jump now. Like you know.
So if I can defend somebody on the roster right now who's probably the best aerialist of all time, in my opinion, Adrian Neville. he does that. He doesn't use all this stuff and do the same exact thing in all of his matches. He always is constantly changing it up.
And that's and I see that with all the NXT guys, because I feel like they're allowed to wrestle and actually tell stories down there. I'm talking about like the main roster, and I'm not talking about like, because pay-per-view matches are usually top quality, major matches are usually top quality, but it's true, they have to be on every week, like 3-4 times a week. It's hard to be different for every single match when you're wrestling like over 1,000 matches a year possibly, if you're wrestling all the time on every show. So I understand it's hard for them to be different and tell a story every time, but like some things, like I feel like they like you can almost map out like the whole end half of a Randy Orton match if he's gonna win. Like the whole first half will be different or whatever, but you know he's gonna do a slam, you know he's gonna do his little backbreaker, you know he's gonna do DDT through the ropes, you know he's gonna hit the RKO. And I'm a huge Randy Orton mark, but I know that, and it kind of sucks because I want him to hit that DDT like once in a while, like, you know what I mean? Like the way he teases us with the punt that he doesn't do no more.
Yeah,
like,
I love that.
That's great because when he teases with that punt, it adds to the story of the match. Mm-hmm. I feel like every move should do that. You know what I mean?
If only, man. That would make wrestling not only just crazy interesting, but that would make wrestling godlike.
Because that's what I feel like it used to, that's what I used to feel like when I used to watch Bret Hart. Every match was different. It might have, like, he didn't always win with his finisher. He won with a fucking roll-up. He won with this different thing. Like, he won in unique ways sometimes, and that's what made it different. Like, oh, that's the story of the match. When nowadays, it's like, you know, majority of the time, people are winning with the finisher.
Yes.
Or we're going to get, like, 10 finishers where people kick out of, and then finally someone wins with the finisher. And that's another thing that I think is just way overdone now, is anytime they're trying to make a match seem important, we'll have them kick out of your curb stomp. We'll have them kick out of the attitude adjustment. Like, once you've done it so many times, it doesn't make the match that important anymore, to me.
See, false finishes, to me, are a beautiful thing if utilized properly and not utilized too much.
Exactly, and I think it's at the point where it's been utilized too much. So if they laid back off it for a bit, because like a finishing move's not even a finishing move no more, to me. It's like a signature move, like something you do, but it's not like the move that finishes the match anymore because people are always kicking out of them.
Yep.
Which kind of sucks. Where like before, you knew like, or you felt like at least when Shawn Michaels hit a Sweet Chin Music or Austin at the stand of the match was over, you felt like it, but like it wasn't sure, but you felt like it.
But that is what made the Shawn vs. Undertaker match such a beautiful story.
Yeah.
You had these two guys who you thought in your head, if Undertaker hits a tombstone, this match is over. If Shawn Michaels hits a Sweet Chin Music, this match is over. And that's when falsies were utilized good and properly.
Exactly, but now, like 4 or 5 years down the road, you have Rock and Cena doing the same thing at WrestleMania, and it's like, man, give it a break. Like, that shows you how much has been tarnished, right?
In a sense, I'm gonna have to totally agree with you on that one for sure. Yeah.
Because like, it doesn't matter that it was Shawn Michaels and Undertaker. People would be like, oh, it's only because it was Shawn Michaels and Undertaker. Rock and Cena could have done that too if it wasn't so played out, and it would have been really cool. But it's the fact that it was so played out at that point that's like, it almost became like a staple in Undertaker matches after that. Kick out of a tombstone. Kick out of a tombstone. What, it took 2 tombstones to beat CM Punk? 3 or something? It took like 3 or 2 tombstones to beat Triple H. I give him credit for that one where they had Triple H actually lose to the Hell's Gate instead of the tombstone. That was unique, I guess. But taking out of finishers became common for a WrestleMania match with The Undertaker. So that's one thing I think could be changed. I'm not a big fan of high spots. Like, I like them. Obviously, I mark out them, but I feel like they get repetitive sometimes.
Okay.
Like, you know, the ladder breaking through the middle?
That one, yeah.
That's one of them. Like, some of them you can't change. Like, someone jumping off a ladder. Like, that's a thing. That's what you do. Someone getting thrown into a ladder. And they do get really creative with ladder matches over the years. Like, we've seen Kofi do some creative shit. We've seen Cesaro do some creative shit. It's not, it's just, I mean, like, the typical spots. You know, like, the ladder cracking out, that shouldn't happen all the time. I guess they gotta replace a lot of stuff because you can't do chair shots to the head no more. But
yeah, that sucks, man.
It sucks, but it makes sense.
It does, but again, it's such a cool visual that can't be utilized anymore, and it hurts as a wrestling fan.
It does, and like anyone that probably wants to be a wrestler to have one of those moments, like you can't, but on the main stage. But you know, it's okay because it makes sense. I totally understand the health reasons. It protects the wrestlers. And once again, like I said, there's so many reasons why nowadays wrestlers have a longer shelf life than the guys of the past, and that's why. But it also makes it really hard for the wrestlers coming up because they got these top guys. Like, Cena's been the top guy since like 2005. It's 2015.
It's nuts, yeah.
Hogan was from what, 1984, and he was gone by like 93, 92, barely phased in there. Austin was there from like the top guy from like I'll say maybe 97 to like 2002, but like he was gone. He was out. Like, he was actually out for like a whole year in 2000, which gave gave The Rock and Triple H a huge boost.
Yes.
Like, you know, like, and the guy like John Cena, he's never out for like a year. He comes back every like 2-3 months after he gets injured, and it hurts. It hurts the other guys. It's good for him. Like, good job, John Cena. You know how to recover fast. I appreciate your effort and love for the company, but it's fucking over the guys that are sitting there waiting to, you know, get a chance. Because you're always there. Like, you know, like Piper used to leave all the time, or Hogan would go to film a movie, or like, you know.
But that's why I have so much respect for Punk. And I know a lot of people are shitting on him now because he does. I'll be honest, he writes some shitty stuff on Twitter about the wrestling industry. And
he's bitter. He's bitter at it. It's like,
but he has every right to be.
Exactly, and it's like when people are like, "Oh, Bret Hart's so bitter." Like, Bret Hart has the right to be bitter. Like, Bret Hart at the end of the day is still one of the greatest wrestlers ever. CM Punk, to me, at the end of the day, was one of the greatest wrestlers ever. He tried to tell a different story in every match too, just like Bret did. He didn't try to play the same move set every time, and I can say that for a fact. But the way both of them went out of the WWE was hard. Like, Bret got screwed. Punk, not on screen, but technically, whatever side of the fence you're on, he did kind of get screwed. And I think that's what you're about to go into, right?
Yeah, man. Honestly, I just felt like this is a guy who was super talented, amazing on the mic, amazing in the ring. And again, I'm honestly a big John Cena fan. I have so much respect for him, how much heart he puts into the business. But there's got to be a time where you allow that door to revolve and allow a new face to be for your company. Like, they were better at that back in the day.
He keeps making this excuse that, like, you know, until someone can, you know, take care of the kids, I'm gonna be here. Or, like, until, you know, someone else, you know, grabs that proverbial brass ring and takes it, I'm gonna be here. You know, no, it's the fact that you're there. That when you're not there, that's when people get the chance. Like, Triple H would never become a top star if Bret and Shawn didn't have to leave in that time, or like Austin wouldn't have got that big rub if Bret and Shawn was still there all the time. He would have been fighting with them and stuff. Taker was leaving all the time throughout the Ruthless Aggression era, so that gave these younger guys chances, like Batista and stuff on SmackDown. It's just Cena's always there. He's always there, and he's always the top spot. Like, right now, he's not the top spot, and Seth Rollins is it, and it's like about time. Like, you know,
very exciting to watch.
Yeah, like, actually intriguing to watch now, because like, hey, wait, Cena's on the championship picture. It's Seth Rollins, who's totally new, totally fresh in the WWE. And yeah, he's feuding with Orton. And the thing I say about Orton is Orton always plays that. Orton has the best spot in the company, I feel like. Like, Cena still has a tough spot being the top guy. Like, that is a tough spot to be in. You have to work, you're the kid's favorite, you're all the media appearances. Orton's a guy that is over, he's a top dog, but he's not ever, like, hogging the spotlight. He can be in a whatever mindless feud, and he's still over. You know? No one gives him as much flack.
Yeah.
And he gives to the younger guys. He's lost, I think, to Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. He lost to Rollins. He beat Rollins at WrestleMania, which made sense. I see him losing to Rollins the next two. He lost the last pay-per-view. I see him losing the next one. I don't see any reason for Orton to have the belt back. I'm not going to complain if he does, but he doesn't really need it. So,
yeah, Orton's the type of guy like Taker. He doesn't need the belt in order for him to be a top guy in the company.
Yeah, like, he's already solidified his spot. Well, I feel like Cena's sitting in the seat where it's like someone else needs to take his seat now. Like,
yeah, you know, someone's got to take the throne.
Yeah, like, Orton's kind of in that Triple H phase right now. Like, Triple H has been there forever, but there was a point where Triple H was jobbing out to guys like Randy Orton and Batista.
Yeah.
And, like, that's what Orton's doing now. He's giving it back, where he's jobbing out to guys like Rollins and Roman Reigns. Cena, on the other hand, he has these great feuds with guys like Bray Wyatt and Rusev and so on, but at the end, Cena always wins. It's a weird dynamic, I tell you. Where'd you go?
No, I'm right here, bro.
I was waiting for you to say something.
No, it's just I totally agree with you. I feel in order for a company to grow, the face of the company needs to change.
The top of the card needs to change a little bit. So so you met Mick Foley, and now I thought about that right now, because I remember you saying that the first match you remember watching was Foley versus The Undertaker in Hell in a Cell. Yeah. And then I also remember seeing a picture of you on Instagram with Mick Foley.
Mm-hmm.
How was that?
I was pissing my pants, man. I was jumping up and down like a fangirl. Mick Foley, to me, is God. Yeah. And for that psychopath that I watched fall off of that Hell in the Cell and get back up and wrestle Undertaker and have a full match after that. For me to be in the same room as him was a godsend. It was super cool. It was awesome. And also the guy in real life is a stand-up guy. He's probably one of the nicest men I've ever met in my life. So
I met him too. I went to his comedy show when he came here in Vancouver, and I met him after, got him to sign one of my books and stuff like that. Super cool dude. I didn't tell him anything else. It was just kind of like, I was kind of in awe. But and he had a lineup, so it wasn't like, one-on-one conversation type of thing. Super cool dude, so I totally agree, yeah. Did you tell him about how that was the first thing you remember watching?
I was too busy with dealing with the piss running down my leg to...
So it's the same thing, you were in awe. It was kind of like, holy shit, this is Mick Foley, and you couldn't really get 100%. Out the words, right?
I couldn't get the words out, and which is so not my personality. If anybody knows me, I'm very good at talking.
Same here, that's the thing, like everyone knows I'm a yapper. I can talk all day. I probably talked so much on here more than you did by accident. It's just bad habit. But like... But like at the same time, like it was even when I met Jeff Jarrett, I like struggled with being like, I'm the wrestling classic, because one, I didn't know if he actually knew who I was. I was just gonna throw it out there to see, test the waters. Two, I look like a bum, and I'm not saying that I'm more shy when I look like a bum or anything. It's just that if I'm meeting someone famous, I probably should have dressed up a little bit nicer. And three, it was just nerves. I'm meeting Jeff Jarrett, which is huge. He's fucking Jeff Jarrett. I don't care what anyone says about him. He's still Jeff Jarrett. In the late 90s, he was the man. And
I got to share a locker room with him, too. That was really cool.
Oh, yeah, he's the man. He's a nice guy.
Yes.
He's super cool. And then I just was like, can you sign this? And he was like, the one in the suit or wrestling picture? I'm like, wrestling picture, right?
Yep. And
then he's like, okay, what would you like me to write? And I was going to be like, just say to Justin, Jeff Jarrett, blah, blah, blah. Right? I'm like, you know what? Can you write to the wrestling classic? And he's like, what? I'm like, to the wrestling classic. He's like, the wrestling classic? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, well, 76,000 people are going to be seeing this. And he's like, what? And then I literally handed him my phone and showed him. And he knew exactly who I was on the page. And he's like, I remember this. And he actually even brought up a post that I put up of him and doing something like a long time ago. And just tell me how, like, before he works out, he always kind of checks social media and stuff. And I was like, I was shocked. I was like, whoa.
That must have felt great, man.
He like shook my hand 3 times saying like, thank you for like supporting wrestling the way you do and like blah 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 this and that.
Yeah.
I'm like, because that made me think, I'm like, how many other people know about my page, came across it, didn't like anything or probably didn't comment or anything, but came across it and then just kind of laughed or like see when I post them. I was thinking about that today too, because I'm like, when I post Sasha Banks, I'm sure she sees them, but she doesn't like every single one of them, but she sees them. Oh, she's commented, she's liked, she's done stuff, but when I post her, I mean, like, she's probably seen them, but didn't say anything about them or anything. And then at the same time, if I was ever to meet her and I kind of bring it up, it might ring a bell. I won't say they're gonna like know for a fact, but like might ring a bell, like it did with Jeff. Because like with Natalia, I know she knows for a fact. Like, some people know for a fact. I know that for sure, but I don't know. We'll see. It's pretty cool when you meet people and they know what's going on.
It's always super cool, man. When I got to wrestle with Haku, that was also another thing, because I remember Megan the Barbarian. That was like 2 monsters, and when I met him in person, that was really cool.
How was that?
Oh man, he is stiff, but stiff in all the right ways. Like, he slapped the taste out of me, dude. Like, he did not hold back, and I respect that, because he wants the wrestling, he wants the product to look real, and I thought it was very cool to work with him. I did a run-in on him, and he just beat the shit out of me.
That must have been a great experience, though, right? Something you'll never forget.
Yes, one of the most dangerous men in the history of pro wrestling. It was super cool.
In front and behind the cameras, everyone always talks about he's one of the toughest guys.
Yeah, and then
to mess with.
The best part of it was he let me do a drop kick on him.
Yeah.
And when he came to the back, he said, "I just want you to know that was a really good drop kick," and he didn't have to say that, you know.
Yeah, so exactly. Stuff like that must really get you motivated, right?
Very much so.
Yeah, so Haku, who else have you got to work with? So Haku, I mean, you worked with Hawkins, of course, right?
Some locker room time, that was really cool. We talked about lifting and nutrition. That was a really funny convo.
Yeah.
And I kind of so badly wanted to ask him what's it like to be a gigolo, but I kept my mouth shut.
Yeah.
Who else? I got to shake the hand of I'm blanking on the Godfather. That was cool.
Oh, that's cool, yeah.
Yeah. I got to meet, I don't know do you know who Kevin Matthews is? He's a big name on the independents.
I've heard his name before. I can't put a face to his name now, but I've heard his name.
Kevin, and yeah, those are pretty much the bigger names that I've gotten to talk to and meet. Trent
Beretta?
Yeah, he came to a practice because he's friends with Brian.
Well, that's cool.
I met Colt Cabana. That was, again, cool.
How's Colt?
Colt's a cool, fun dude, man.
Yeah.
I just went up to his T-shirt stand, and I was just like, "What's up, man? I'm Jewish too," just to crack a joke and to break the ice. And he just cracked jokes at me back. He was a super cool guy.
That's pretty funny that it worked though. Some people get offended by that, right? But
yeah. But I had a feeling that he had a good sense of humor just by watching his matches. But the funniest experience I had meeting somebody was EC3.
How was that?
Everybody always cracks jokes on social media that I look exactly like him.
I saw that on my page too. Someone's like, "Wow, he looks like EC3, Ethan Carter." Yeah, and I'm like, "Yeah."
So when I met him, I went up to him and I was like, "So what's it like to meet your doppelganger?" And he was like, "It's pretty cool." And
That's
we
pretty
just
funny.
stared at each other for It was very funny. Somebody took a picture of the two of us together. I posted it on Instagram, I think.
I should repost it and be like, drop that. The caption should literally just be doppelganger. But
No, we definitely look alike. He's a whole lot taller than me, but most people are. So.
So professional wrestling. So, what's your what would be your dream WrestleMania match?
For me?
Yeah.
That is a loaded question, man.
Well, we'll do it like this. We're not gonna we'll do it two ways, and then after this we'll start answering questions that the fans ask. But I'm a fan too, so I'm gonna ask some questions myself still. I'm your advocate. I should be allowed to ask questions. First things first. So yeah, dream WrestleMania match. I'll make it a little bit easier. We'll say dream WrestleMania match with anyone from the past. That's one.
Okay.
And then dream WrestleMania match that if you were to book it, we'll say the next 5 years. Your dream WrestleMania match.
Okay.
So
my dream WrestleMania match from the past would have to be me against Roddy because I feel like me shooting a promo on him and him shooting a promo on me would be awesome television. And also the intensity that I feel I have in the ring, he also had.
Yeah. And
I feel like it would just be a full-on crazy brawl, and it would just be epic for the fans, in my opinion.
That's so funny. Cause I could hear Roddy right now, like Maxwell, Jacob, Feinstein.
Yeah, and also
yeah.
He wasn't afraid to be a little racy when it came to race and religion. I remember with the Mr. T thing, he cracked some kind of racy jokes.
Oh yeah, well that was the 80s. They got to. So it's the someone made this joke one time. I always laugh because I've always believed in it. It's the shareholder era.
That's great.
But, yeah, no, but Piper, yeah, I think I could hear those promos too. I was just thinking about it. I could hear him making fun of the fact that you're Jewish and stuff, you know.
Yeah, and be able to crack back at him and talk about the fact he's wearing a skirt and call him a girl and just. I feel like I'd be a good promo on Rowdy Piper.
I actually really want to see that now. That would be great, actually. And the match itself, I can see it being one of the not the main event, but one of the main events that people are looking forward to. Kind of like how Seth Rollins and Randy Orton was this year.
Yeah.
Those all these big name matches, but realistically, to me, that was the main event because it was the one I was looking forward to see the most.
Okay.
I can see that, man. Rowdy Piper versus Maxwell, Jacob Feinstein. Okay, and as for currently,
present day. And I know this sounds nutty, but I came up with in my head, if I were to get into Tough Enough, I would think of a cool storyline. Let's say I won. Then Triple H puts me in the Authority, and then I'm working with the Authority, right? And then one day I start getting cockier and cockier. Kind of like Rollins, but even more so. And then I get in Triple H's face, and maybe I attack Trip. And then I get a match with Triple H at WrestleMania. I feel like that'd be a cool storyline. And
it'd be great because they'll talk about oh, that would be a great promo too. Being the marketing kid I am. The whole build. You know, the match promos they show before the match and stuff. With Daniel Bryan, they showed the whole I'm a monster thing. I have issues, man. I can listen to songs and I think of promos in my head to a song I'm listening to. I'm like, wow. I'm like, this would go perfect if these two guys are feuding this song and blah blah blah. But no, but I picture them showing you auditioning for Tough Enough. They'll show you audition where you're calling out Triple H and how you made it, and then slowly you're working with them, and then how slowly he wants to beat the Tough Enough kid up, you know?
Yep.
I made you who you are. You were just this Tough Enough kid, and now you're in my face.
Yeah, now you think you're all high and mighty.
Yeah. And then that's the official passing you the actually making you a main player is the fact that this Tough Enough kid just beat Triple H. And
besides that, I'm also a pretty big Triple H mark.
Oh, who isn't? And I know, we grew up in that era where Triple H was the man, and I know he's he sometimes gets left behind in the dust when you're talking about The Rock, Austin, Undertaker or Shawn Michaels. But like for me, he's right with them, man. He's in that group.
For sure.
A lot of people give him a lot of flack. He married Stephanie, and he was always the top guy. And
That's
he was,
BS, man. That always pissed me off. He's a talented wrestler, and he's probably, in my opinion, will go down as one of the top wrestlers of all time in the WWE.
You know what I love? This always makes me crack up a little bit because I see it on my page all the time. Is a lot of the same people, and I can't even say a lot of the same people because I didn't know all of them before, but there's a lot of people on Instagram who are the same people that would be like, oh, Triple H buries talent, oh, Triple H and his shovel, and oh, he always kept himself at the top because he's dating Stephanie, are now kissing Triple H's ass. Like if they saw him, they probably would have their lips literally plastered on his ass because 100%. What he's doing with NXT and the fact that, oh, now Vincent's the one that's out of touch and Triple H is the man. When Triple H takes over, things are going to be good when Triple H and Stephanie take over, but it's kind of just, it's kind of like you didn't like this guy about a week ago and now you're his fucking biggest number one fan because what he's doing with NXT. Back to
people being so fickle, dude.
Yeah. Like, I've always liked Triple H. I did think there's, just the same thing with John Cena. Like, I still think, like, I like John Cena, but I still think those guys that he should have put over, like Bray Wyatt at the end of the feud, but those aren't their choices.
No, it's not.
Yeah, if there politics? Yeah, of course they're politics, but backstage is like life. You gotta play the game, no pun intended. You gotta play the game if you want to succeed. Yeah. It's okay to be good. It's okay to, be talented. But in life, like, you're not going to just get by being good. You got to be good at the right times and places and know how to play your cards. And I think a lot of guys today, like, I think, and we've heard it in the Shield documentary, like, Rollins always had a chip on his shoulder. He thought he was ready to be on the main roster way before he was. And he played his cards with that attitude. A lot of people don't have that chip on their shoulder, and that's why they're being left behind,
True.
Like, bitch, complain, pick your battles and go for them. Don't fight all the time. Don't be a whiner and complainer, but pick your battles and go for them. Yeah. But I think Triple H is a man. I think that's a good idea. Triple H was, I don't know, man. I still like the Piper one because I think the promos would be great. But Triple H, yeah. What would you do if you were at WrestleMania?
What would I do if I was at WrestleMania?
Like, if you were on the show, like, how would you feel? It just can't even explain it right now, right?
I guess I'll tell you if I get there, man. That's so tough for me to do now, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, let's see what questions some people have asked here.
Let's go, baby.
Oh wow, I got 8 comments now. This is actually a good one. Are you ready to handle 200 nights away from home? It's a big commitment when the fame may or may not come. Like, how
Here's my answer to that. Me personally, if I'm passionate about something, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get it done. I don't think it would affect me. It definitely, I would get homesick, but who wouldn't get homesick? I think every superstar will tell you in an interview that sometimes they get homesick. But if you care about something enough and you're passionate about something enough, then all that stuff doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's my best answer I can give to that one.
Let's see the next one here. How he started, we already kind of talked about that. People just talk about random ass shit here. Favorite WWE wrestler, current and past?
Current. I am a huge Bray Wyatt fan.
Okay.
Nobody shoots a better promo than that guy in all the WWE right now. And like I said, I'm a very character-driven fan. And also, he's just, when he walks into the arena, all eyes are on him, man. And it's hard to take that away from him.
And from the past?
Past, again, Roddy Piper. Hands down the best villain of all time in WWE.
Fair enough. That's good. I'm going to go on your page and read the ones everyone asked on your page because he's tended to do that. The first question, just, no. How tall are you? How tall are you?
How tall am I? I am 5'9" on the button.
Okay, there you go. Do you think that's going to be a problem at all? I don't think so. I know they're big guys, but...
This is the way I take it. If you know how to talk, people aren't going to realize how small you are And if you're talented enough, people aren't going to realize how small you are.
It's a good
and that's
attitude.
just how it works.
Here's a question. How could such a sweet boy and Rosie become such a douchebag? Maxwell J. Feinstein.
For me, again, that makes me happy because that means my character's working and I'm doing my job and I'm making people hate me. And there's nothing that makes me happier more than getting booed. Even though that kind of sounds a little
That's
twisted.
kind of funny. I love how so many people can't separate reality to character. It happens a lot.
It's on YouTube too. A lot of people are like, "Oh, this guy's such a piece of shit. I hate him." No, man. Like I'm a pretty, like get to know me. I'm a nice person, but yeah, my character, my gimmick. I want you to hate me. That means I'm doing my job.
That's what a lot of people get. Like, oh, this guy sucks. I'm like, dude, it's a character. He's supposed to suck. The fact that you think he sucks is a good thing. Like, great.
Exactly.
So you're doing famous CO2. Who made you want to become a wrestler? That's a whole variety of people and things, I'm guessing. I don't think it wouldn't be anyone specifically.
But I can tell you the moment I realized I wanted to be a pro wrestler and I wanted to do nothing else was the first Elimination Chamber match. It was in Madison Square Garden and my dad took me.
Okay.
And I remember just watching Shawn Michael with that bloody crimson mask and him just shooting that HBK double bicep hanging to the right, you know?
Yeah.
And me just thinking to myself, everybody is standing up looking at this guy right now. There's not a single person in this arena, in this room, that isn't staring at this guy and thinking to themselves, man, I want to be him right now. And that gave me such a high. And that's I feel like that was the moment it clicked for me and I said, I can do this and I'm going to do this.
That was WrestleMania, Survivor Series 2002.
2002, yep.
That's when Big Papa Pump debuted, right?
Yeah, I remember that was Freakzilla, man.
How was that? I was so excited for his debut, and it kind of flopped in the long run. I'm a big WCW guy. I watched a lot of WCW in the 90s more than I did WWE. I actually watched them equally, I'll say, but I was like more intrigued by, Hogan, Savage, Sting, and Goldberg and Diamond Dallas Page and Steiner more than I was intrigued by, oddly enough, like the whole Undertaker, Kane, Mankind, Triple H thing going on. But so I was excited when Scott Steiner came and how was the crowd when he came out there?
Well, the crowd was. I remember the crowd in New York. I mean, the crowd at Madison Square Garden is always loud. Man.
Yeah.
There are places and where WWE will go where it's the loudest, and that's, to my opinion, you got Philly, you got WWE, and you got Chicago is always loud. Yeah. Like there's specific places where you know you're gonna have a show with a lot of loud, opinionated fans, and that's also really fun too.
And that's another thing I think a lot of casual fans won't get, or anyone that hasn't really wrestled. And once again, I don't know why I know these things, because I've never technically wrestled in front of a crowd or anything. I just feel like I do my research, I do my best to. I want to work for the business at some point, so I do my best to know as much as I can. Even though, and these days, you don't really need to know anything about wrestling to work for the company. But that was just a shot fired for no reason. But the crowd makes a big difference for what's going on in the ring. If you have a shitty, quiet crowd that doesn't react to you, because once again, you're a heel. I feel like it's way more fun working a crowd as a heel than it is as a face.
It is.
If I was ever to be in a ring, I'd love to just, badger the fans and just talk shit and, if you don't get a reaction out of the crowd, it's hard to, not give. I feel like you're always going to give 100% because you want to put in a good show regardless. But you give 110 or 120% when that crowd's feeding you that energy.
Mm-hmm. And also it comes down to pro wrestling is all about suspending disbelief.
Yeah.
And it's hard to suspend people's disbelief if they're not paying attention and the crowd isn't paying attention.
I know, and it's really weird because when I don't watch it religiously or anything, but I've watched Japanese wrestling a lot in the past. I have a few tapes and I've watched matches on YouTube and stuff, but their crowd's always been very quiet and the match is going on, and some of the great it's respectable, but some of the greatest matches have happened in Japan. That is our New Japan and All Japan Pro Wrestling and the other companies down there. It's very very wrestling orientated more than entertainment orientated. Not that the wrestling's not entertaining, but I mean, it's more wrestling than starting the show off with the 20-minute promo and this and that and all that. You know what I mean?
It's not as character driven.
Yeah, not character driven or promo driven or it's more introduction matches. The matches tell the story, and like backstage promos tell the rest of it. There's no entertainment segments or comedy skits or anything like that. So being the wrestling driven companies they are, and the quiet crowd, I always like, you've been in the ring and you wrestle, like if you had to go work in Japan, like how would that feel? Obviously there's that sense of tradition that makes you really proud just to be there because you're in Japan wrestling with so many other greats wrestled, but like with the crowd.
I'm freaking out because some of my favorite wrestlers of all time wrestled in New Japan, but for me, I don't know if I would be able to deal with that because I really feed off the boots. Like that's how when I get my energy, that's when I get going, is when people start really screaming at me and saying Feinstein, fuck you. Like that's what gets me amped. So if I looked out at a crowd and I screamed at them and all they did was go, oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like, no. Like that would probably freak me out a little bit. So that's my
That's
take.
the difference with the Western fans compared to like the Japanese fans. Is like maybe you could go there and try to work the crowd so bad that you can get like this one guy that really just hates you in the front row or something and work off him all night. But like, I feel like it'd be a little bit harder. I don't know. I don't know. I've never really done it. I've never been in the ring, but from my perception, I've always thought like, how do you go by that? Do you just try to wrestle the best wrestling match you can have instead of trying to work the character so much, or do you work the character to get the crowd going and then working off that crowd? Because I know for a fact when I've been to live shows, I've been to independent shows where the crowd's only like, maybe 100, 150 people.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been to 100, 150 people where the crowd's been quiet and you could tell the guys in the ring are trying to like get you to do something and nothing happens. And I've been to ones where people are fucking yelling out random shit that has nothing to do with nothing, but you could work off it. You just yell back at them and it's like so much better. It makes the atmosphere better. So
More fun.
Yeah, it's more fun atmosphere. Like someone could just like yell like, "Oh, you can't wrestle," and like it's such a small crowd that you can go and be like, "Well, fuck you! You try to do this." You know what I mean? They can hear you. Everyone laughs and shit. But
yep.
Yeah, it's I don't know, because I feel like a lot of people don't realize how much the crowd makes a difference. Like, there's a reason why the show after WrestleMania is such a great show, and it's not because of what's happening on the show and like the surprise appearances and stuff that could happen. It's mainly because they can do anything and they know this is the night they're gonna get the best reaction from the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is, right?
Yeah. 100%.
Okay, let's go on to the next question. How old were you when you first got into wrestling, and what was your favorite wrestling promotion?
I was 4 or 5, and my favorite promotion was WWE. I had no idea there was such thing as WCW growing up.
No?
0. And then when I started really getting into wrestling, and somebody brought it to my attention when I was like 7 or 8 that there was another company, then I started watching, and and I would watch old tapes, and I'd go to Hollywood Videos. I'd buy old WCW tapes, and two completely different promotions, but I'm a WWE baby for sure.
Yeah. What's your favorite match of all time? If you have to pick one match right now, like which match? Like obviously the Foley Taker match is the first match you remember, and that's always going to be significant to you because of that. But like,
yes,
if you had to go down
for
to like,
me,
what's your favorite match?
Foley Taker. It's got to be Foley Taker because it's, in my opinion, tells the best story of all time, ever. It's just my take.
To be honest with you, that's one of my favorite rivalries too.
Mhm.
Because that's one of the first rivalries I remember. Because I have tons of tapes. My brother's 10 years old and we used to record everything all the time. Fortunately, I have all these tapes in. And I remember just kind of watching that. Like, that's one of the first, feuds that I actually really vividly remember was Foley vs. Taker. Mankind, actually, vs. Taker. Not even just Foley or Cactus Jack or anything. Mankind. And, the whole Paul Bearer turning on The Undertaker and everything. That's all so,
That was a great storyline.
The whole thing from 96 to, in 98, they got back into it again. But, as much as Taker was already over, Mankind kind of helped keep Taker relevant during that period too, because he was having some dumb feuds with Giant Gonzalez and Undertaker versus Undertaker throughout the years, a decent feud with Yokozuna and stuff, but nothing too major. And then he got in a feud with Mankind, and it was this is great. So, yeah, okay, so that would be your favorite match as well.
100%.
Yep. Let's see. What would it mean to you to be on Tough Enough? I think we've kind of established that. It'd mean the world to you.
Yeah, it would mean the world to me, man. 100%.
Who was your favorite wrestler growing up to watch?
Growing up watching it, again, it's got to be Jeff and Ray, and I loved Benoit, even though I'm not allowed to say that.
I know, right? It sucks that I was a big Benoit fan too.
Huge Benoit mark, and the guy that really for me, was so fun to watch no matter what. Even as a heel, I loved him, was Eddie. And when he died, dude, I remember crying like a baby. Like a little baby.
I know. There's something about both of those guys, Eddie and Benoit, that were just so, like, unique. Because they weren't the biggest guys.
No, they were not.
They weren't, like, I don't think they were even 6 foot or anything.
They're my height. They were 5'8".
And, like, they weren't, like, the reason I'm kind of off about Jeff and Ray, Jeff and Ray are both super talented. But, you know, Eddie and Benoit both weren't, like, just massive high flyers. Like, they had strength, they were aggressive, they could high fly if they had to. Even Benoit, he could jump around off things.
Yeah.
And, like, they were just, like, they were the definition of total packages.
100%.
And they were the perfect size to be believable to be world champions, too. They weren't too small like Ray or too big, where it's like, okay, they're only champion because they're big. They were, like, the perfect size. Physique was on perfect point. They could wrestle circles around anybody. Two of the greatest of all times for sure. So those are great options. It sucks that Benoit's so lost.
Yeah, it hurts. It hurts when I go on the network and I have to literally search for his pay-per-view match.
Because you can't skip to it. They don't let you skip to them.
Exactly.
Oh, it sucks. All understandable, all reasonable. I understand why. I get it.
What he did was horrible, but it just, as a fan.
As a wrestling fan, yeah.
Still hurts.
He's the man, but yeah, that sucks. So that's all the questions. I think. Let me see if someone asked questions on the post I put on yesterday. Why was he on the show? We already talked about that. You were an opera singer. Your mom snuck you on Rosie O'Donnell because she probably watched it on a daily basis.
She did.
Should we do some word association and call it quits at that point? So basically what I like doing is I'll name a wrestler or some sort of wrestling personality and you just give the first thing that comes to your mind.
Alright.
And then we'll call it quits after that. We'll do one of these again for sure because I actually enjoyed this.
Yeah, and hopefully we can bring Joe next time.
Yeah, we'll have you and Joe both on here. That'd be great, actually. You guys well, let's talk about Joe really quickly. So you guys work together as a tag team duo, but like a bodyguard.
Yeah, Joe's my security man. Joe's a beast. I mean, I remember the first time I came in to Create a Pro. Me and him, the first time we met, I didn't really like him. I'll be honest.
Yeah, that happens to a lot of people that become really close, though. And I don't know why that is. When a lot of people that have become like my best friends, like I call them like my bros now and whatever, like they were people that I first initially was like, I don't like this guy, but it's because you have so many things in similar that it's like.
And then after that, I remember I talked to him one day after practice, and I was like, holy shit, this guy's really cool. And then we would wrestle each other after practice was over, like 10, 15-minute matches on the fly without talking to each other. Like, sick stuff that you read about in books when Jericho would say he would wrestle Lance Storm and they didn't have to talk. There was just chemistry there.
Yeah.
Joe is so incredibly talented, man, and he's just fun to watch. I admire him in the sense that I kind of do high flyer stuff and I'm very flashy with my promos, but Joe's very technical and he's ground based and he'll fuck you up. And that's what's cool, and that's what I love about our tag team because we feed off of each other. Because I'm the loudmouth high flyer and he's the ground based no nonsense guy. It kind of reminds me of if I can think about it, it almost reminds me of Matt and Jeff a little bit. You know what I mean? And we fit together. We fit together really well.
No, I always thought that's a perfect combo, is always having a flashy, loudmouth guy, and then he has this bodyguard, tough guy that's, you know, you can talk as much smack as you want, and someone come after you, and bam, there's Joe.
I can say whatever I want, then I get to hide right behind my big Joe Bronson.
And exactly, and you know what? And I love it. I've watched a couple of you guys' matches. I've seen you guys' promos together. And, like, the chemistry you two have, even as a team, is, like, it's spot on. Like, you guys know your parts, you know, the roles you play, and it works, like, perfectly, because the way your gimmick is and the way his gimmick is, it's like, these guys are meant to be with each other. Why? Because, and you could even, like, it's one of those things that, like, you already know that if it ever comes to the inevitable breakup between you two, it's not even hard to book because it makes sense. And then it's not even hard to put you guys... And then it's not even hard to put you guys back together because it makes sense.
It does.
You know? So that's the thing. It's you guys are like as a combination, it's like something that could be long term. And God,
what was that?
I said as a combination, you guys are something that could be long term.
Yeah, I feel that way too, man. Joe's, again, just a super, super talented kid, and we feed off of each other so well. And that's really the best way I can describe it. And also, he's my best friend, which is a perk, you know?
Yeah, there we go. That's what makes it cool. And it'd be cool, you know, one day if you guys are both up there, man. It's like Steen and Zayn. I mean, Owens and Zayn.
Yep.
And it's just the chemistry you guys have. I just know, like, you'll come in there and do some crazy move, and then Joe comes in and like he'll beat the guy up, and then your cocky ass gets in the ring, and you're just picking up the scraps, and I'm like, this is awesome.
Exactly.
And he's just fucking putting, and his beating is like, it's not like the prettiest shit. Like, he's beating a guy up. Like, he's knocking with blows. He's rough. He's tough. He's just, they come at him and he just knocks him down, and then he tags you in, and you're all fancy, and you're doing some flips and jumps and like.
Yep.
And the moment they come back at you, boom, you go run to Joe, and it's great when you have a story that's easy to tell, and you know, and that's like the best part. What do you enjoy more, tag team matches or singles matches?
I haven't really gotten to do all that many singles matches, and I love tagging with Joe because it feels comfortable. But I did just do I did a 5-way last weekend in Jersey.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I love any type of wrestling, dude. I'll wrestle a dog collar match. I don't care. I love any kind of wrestling.
Have you been able to call a match yet, or have you always been more of the follow the what's being called at this point?
Sometimes when we're in the heat, which is I don't know how much wrestling fans understand how a match is set up, but
yeah, a lot of people might not even understand what I'm saying by call the match, or do you let someone else get the calling? They're probably like, what do you mean call a match, man? But the hardcore marks will get it.
Sometimes I get to call the match when me and Joe have control.
Yeah.
But once we lose control, that's when the veterans will take over and they will call all the rest of the spots.
That makes sense though, if it's like that, because you know when it's your guys' turn to be in charge of, like, well, obviously in the tag match it goes back and forth. If anyone knows anything, they know how it usually works. But with the heels and the faces, but no, that makes sense. Because then you got to know what you guys are doing. You get to call your spots and they go along with it. But when the switch happens, it's like, okay, they're back in charge.
Yep.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. So we'll do some word association. I'm going to throw some names out there. You tell me how you feel. First thing that comes to your mind. No crazy ums and buts and thinkings. Paul Heyman.
Genius.
Vince McMahon.
Businessman.
John Cena.
Smart.
Bray Wyatt.
Dark.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Beer.
Chris Jericho.
It's so tough for me. I'm not even gonna lie. There's like so many things I can say.
I know, that's the thing. So I do understand you're gonna think a little bit, because sometimes you're like, wow. Yeah.
I would say charismatic.
Charismatic. Eddie Guerrero.
Too soon.
Yeah. Triple H.
King.
Randy Orton.
Viper.
Seth Rollins.
Future.
Dean Ambrose.
Hardcore.
Roman Reigns.
Spear.
Goldberg.
Spear.
I knew it. I did that on purpose. Spear. Goldberg. Spear. Kevin Owens.
Tough.
Lita.
Hot.
Trish Stratus.
Blazingly hot.
The Bella Twins.
Not my cup of tea, believe it or not.
Fair enough. Who else have we got here? I can keep throwing names forever. Sami Zayn.
High flyer.
Finn Balor.
Different.
Jeff Hardy.
Enigma.
Naomi. She's interesting.
Honestly, that's the word I was about to say was interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what to think of her yet, to be honest. I know she's talented. I know she's a great wrestler. I didn't want her to win the Divas title just to have a little bit of change, but I don't know.
Yeah, we got to see where that goes for sure.
Sasha Banks? Boss.
Yeah, boss.
Ric Flair?
Woo!
Harley Race? Kicking old school. How about Savage? Randy Savage?
Dig it.
Hulk Hogan. Brother. I'm joking. That's literally the first thing that came to my head.
Leg drop.
That's good. So, we'll just stop there because I can go on forever and we can keep doing this and it's in here repetitive. How should we, I don't know. I want to end this on a good note, so let's see here. Tough Enough. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Is Maxwell, Jacob Feinstein, or Max Friedman gonna be on Tough Enough? How do you feel about it?
All I can do is hope, but the best way that we can make sure that does happen or have a chance of happening is by going on WWE YouTube, clicking on my video, viewing it, and liking it and commenting on it, because they take notice to that. As you know, Triple H is very much so into social media, and I feel if everybody who is listening to this, or if everybody who is a fan of the Wrestling Classic, my advocate, is paying attention, we could get me on the show if we just watch that YouTube video and share it. You know, that's the best way. You get to see my beautiful face on USA Network.
Fair enough. Why don't you share your other social media outlets like Twitter and your Instagram page and stuff so everyone knows?
My Instagram is, let's see, Max Friedman 55. That's MAXFRIEDMAN 55. My Facebook is, again, Max Friedman. And my Twitter, which I barely use, but I'll give it to you anyway just for shiggles, is MJ Feinstein.
And there you go. So you want to retweet, you want to post on Facebook, post on Instagram, get his name out there, get him more recognition from the WWE, Triple H, and the casting producers and so on of Tough Enough. I personally have nothing more to say than I truly believe that you are going to make it there. I think you got the gimmick, you got the skill in the ring. I've seen it. If you guys haven't seen any of Max Friedman's matches with Takeover and so on in Creative Pro Wrestling, I'm pretty sure you can find him on YouTube. If you just search up his name, they're on YouTube. Check them out, and you'll even be impressed with Joe as well, because them as a duo, as we were just talking about, is amazing. There's more promos if you guys liked his promos. I know there's a couple more up there. And you know, if you aren't sure that Max Friedman is the future of professional wrestling, you're hearing it here first from the Wrestling Classic. He's the advocate. And no, man, I believe in you. I think this is big things are coming for you. Hopefully, you can get a Wrestling Classic shirt for you, so you can, wear it on Tough Enough, and hopefully they don't blur it out or anything. And we'll see what happens from here. It was great talking to you. It was great way to let people know more about you and just your perception on professional wrestling and your passion for it. It really showed. If people want to share this and share this link to get Max Friedman's name out there more and have more people listen to his opinions and his thoughts on professional wrestling and how we got there and how we ran away from college and football to become a professional wrestler, and how the Wrestling Classic gave him a spark of inspirement to go out chase after his dreams. Inspirement. I don't even think that's a word. Inspired him to go chase his dreams. Then just share this link on your guys' Instagram pages, Twitter, whatever else. I think that's it for now. Is there anything else you want to end off with? Maybe one last promo for the show to end?
All I gotta say is, if you're smart enough, you already know it, but my name is Maxwell Jacob Feinstein, and I'm better than you. And that's all I gotta say about that.
Ooh, yeah. I dig it. So that's it. I'm turning it off. We're done. That was good.
It was a really